President and CEO, former Trump White House chief strategist, Brooke Rollins. Brooke, if you take what Brian Yennes was talking about and the legal fight being waged in Pennsylvania for Bob Casey trying to cull some votes, and then you see these headlines from the New York Times and the Washington Post, nothing changes, not even with this sweeping victory by the MAGA universe and President Donald Trump. They will dig in and get dirty.
Well, good to be with you, Dagan and Brian. No, there's no doubt, right? You just listening to the reporter talk about how the Democrats, even though the election ballots weren't signed appropriately, maybe not postmarked. I mean, here we go again from 2020. My hope and prayer is that clearly the American people have woken up and they have sent such a clear signal into Washington with a, plus 7 million resounding win of the popular vote, which many people thought was never going to happen again in this country. But people of every walk of life and every ethnicity moved toward Donald Trump and the America First agenda. And so hopefully at least parts of America, like the LA Times and others, are actually going to wake up to this and realize that the American people will no longer stand for these shenanigans as they watch their country slip away from them.
Well, I look at the LA Times thing for a second and California this election cycle getting redder in some really interesting ways. I mean, not totally red, of course, but I kind of wonder if in some of these traditionally deep blue pockets, it's actually getting just red enough. People are getting just fed up enough that if you're smart and you run a publication, you might actually take this seriously and want to serve the people who live in your city. What do you think?
I think that's exactly right. Listen, New Jersey, Minnesota, New Mexico, Virginia, and several other states were 5 points or less that President Trump lost by. These are states that no resources were spent in, no door was knocked on, no TV ad was run. And then you look at the ward in Chicago. You look at my home state, the entire southern tip of Texas, which is, I think, 90% Hispanic majority. You look at other places around the country where we are seeing a complete realignment. We are seeing the American people stand up and say no more. It's not Republican versus Democrat any longer. It is prosperity versus bankruptcy. It is a southern border that is secured versus open, for anyone and everyone to come through, including criminals and murderers and rapists. It's no longer okay. And so when you see that realignment in American politics, the largest in more than 100 years, then I would hope that the editors of these left-leaning organizations would wake up, that they no longer, not only do they not represent the conservative movement, they don't represent 85% of the people in this country.
Right. They're not only irrelevant, they're repellent. That the way Americans voted, it is a rejection of everything that the New York Times, not the editorial page, but the reporters were writing, because they made every imaginable excuse for inflation and the open border. I mean, they ran cover for Biden and Harris 8 ways until Sunday. And people just didn't, it wasn't to be believed because it wasn't true. Yeah. Final word, real quick.
Well, you all know this. You all know this, right? 90+% of the media coverage of the last election, 9-10 days ago, was pro-Kamala Harris. The same number was anti-Donald Trump. She had Beyonce. She had Oprah Winfrey. She had, the Avengers, whatever. We had the American people, and it wasn't even close. Yeah. So that's the encouraging thing in America, and we're going to win our country back.
Yeah, don't spit in my face and tell me it's raining, New York Times. Brooke Rollins, thank you so much. Great to see you.